Hello, dear beloveds, Lisa and Ricky. We might start the Lisa and Ricky show because we are having such a good time debriefing with you each day in this group around our experiences of the Science and Spirituality event that we're at. So we're aware that it's Saturday and it might be a little bit quieter on Facebook, but we don't feel like we can kind of wait to share this stuff with you because today was life-changing. And the energy that we were witness to and were generating and got to share with 1,200 other people was truly monumental. And of course, what we learned today, one of the best teaching tools that I have ever seen, and I'm going to pick up and use a lot, is that every time you learn something new that excites you, obviously something you want to keep or retain, the most powerful thing you can do is to share it. And of course, what Joe got us to do today, like multiple times, I'm talking like at least, 50 times, every time he shared a really key point with us, which was pretty much every sentence that he shared, he would say, turn to the person next to you and explain what you just heard. And of course, oh my God, how amazing. So Lisa and I were sitting there, we ended up taking turns while we did that because one break she'd do it one, because we were just so excited. And even though so much of what we heard is in Becoming Supernatural and you are the placebo and in Joe's videos, being in that live experience and explaining it to one another as we learnt it or heard it again, just turned it from knowledge into experience, of course, as we know it happens. So we want to go live now so that we get the benefits of recalling what most struck us today. Really, this live could go for 8 hours, which was about the length of the workshop today, because there was nothing he said that was redundant. And his presence, I have to say, I'm a Greg fan. I'm a Greg Braden fan from way back. But the quality of presentation that came from Joe today was next level. And I felt like he blew Greg out of the water. And I know it's not a competition, but I feel like what I understood, even though it wasn't new, a lot of it was new, but a lot of it wasn't new, was just so powerfully presented. And this is a man on fire. This is a man on a mission. And he doesn't rest, I don't think. He travels around the world constantly, back to back. He said he's got 8 million air miles with one airline, which just gives you an indication of how much he travels. And so really today was encapsulated, the knowledge is encapsulated in his book Becoming Supernatural. So if you do want the details of the workshop, please do check that out. He's also coming to Australia in October. He'll be running an advanced 7-day workshop on the Sunshine Coast. You still can't register for that. I don't know when that's going to open. I won't be able to attend that. I think she's seriously considering it. But this event, I can imagine, would be life-changing because one day with this man has been just phenomenal. So I want to share with you what really shook me today, and it's not about the science, and it's not about the details, and it's not how neuropeptides and blah 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 and all of that works. It's the stark and shocking truth that what we know because of our work, the people in this group, the people I know who are listening to us right now, because of the third level, if you're in that program, because of because of reading things that are freely available, we know too much for us to be living inside our limits, to be living inside of borrowed limits, to be living inside of a false reality, which is the dream, the illusion of suffering, the lack of health, the lack of abundance, the lack of success, the lack of love, all of these things. There is no reason, when we understand what we understand, we know it, that we should be inhabiting anything other than the dream of perfection of our life, whatever that is. And what separates us from that truth, because we are creating that reality, it's not like we're waiting for it to come to us, is that we are lazy. And that we are undisciplined and our minds are roaming like wild puppies, and we never take the time truly discipline ourselves and our consciousness to engineer in and encode reality in the ways that we know is possible. And it's not happening because we are embedded in the past and we are then stuck in a program that runs unconsciously. Lisa's going to talk more about that, and that just then replicates the past past, day after day, into the future. So we're running inside of a program, and that program robs us of our creative energy, because that program is built on your history. So you are literally pre-programming your day. You know what's going to be in that day. You know how bored you're going to be, or how angry you're going to be, or how unsatisfied you're going to be, or how much traffic you're going to sit in. You leave no space for the miracle to enter you. And so you say, well, I can't, Ricky, because I'm really busy, or my life is really hard, or, you know, today someone was mean to me, or like Joe said, I didn't get enough likes on Facebook. And he so powerfully and so simply demonstrated the ways we give our creative energy away to the illusion of 3D reality. And it just kind of absolutely hit me. And I wrote this question down yesterday. With everything that I know, why would I live inside any limits? And even though I live inside far less limits than I lived in 5 years ago, there's still limits there. And the reason that I live inside those limits is because I am not wedded enough to the truth of my quantum nature. And he describes so beautifully the idea that our devotional practices, in particular meditation, are the thing that bring two separate consciousness into one place and time, ideally to merge. But even if before we merge with the one mind of God, the closer we get to the one mind of God, the less time and space there is between what we want or what we're manifesting at the quantum level and its appearance in our life, because we are so close to the truth of what we are, which is infinite, unlimited power. Then we get those incredible moments. Mostly for us, they're simply moments that we get to have and then we separate from, where we are one with the one mind, and we know what that feels like. We've all had that experience. That's what keeps us going on this spiritual path. And if we didn't get those experiences, we'd be like, I don't know why people are into spirituality. What's that all about? But the truth of it is that the more time you spend in devotion, the closer you bring your mind to the one mind. I talk about this when I'm saying you raise your vibration to the highest possible level that you can take it, which is the miracle frequency. And there, all potentials exist. All potentials exist. We don't have to go and get them. We just have to bring our energy to a level where they can be received. And our job is to do this every single day, no excuses. And I am talking to myself. I am yelling at myself right now, because if there is any place in my life where I am not 100% living in the abundance, the joy, the success, the wonder, the awe, the grace, the gratitude that I know is my true nature, then I am not doing this work. I have not shown up. And it's simply not okay, because I know too much. So where am I letting myself down? I'm letting myself down by inhabiting a program that's running unconsciously all of the time. And I am letting myself be led by a program that I haven't even investigated. Now, you know, I've investigated a lot of my programs, but if there's any space, you know, Joe made that joke at the beginning. People come to workshops and go, I'm really spiritual. I've met all my spiritual stuff and I'm really spiritual and unlimited now. And it's like, dude, like you're unlimited when you're unlimited. Like, you know when you're unlimited because you're floating off into the infinite consciousness and you don't really need to be here anymore. So that's it for me. And you watch out, my third level priestesses, because shit's gonna get real. Mama priestess is feeling the fire. It's like we are no longer going to accept our limits, and we're going to enact the truth. And what that requires is getting over our own shit, getting over our laziness, getting over our stories that tell us that we do not have what it takes. We're too busy. We're too important. We've got too many emails. We are going to go so deep into our devotion. And I might do a little challenge in the group. I think that's going to be the next step, is to invite all of you to join me with this absolute reborn fire. It doesn't matter how many times a day you meditate. If you're meditating whilst focusing on your coffee, or thinking about your past, or getting angry about that person who did you wrong, your meditation is like nothing. It doesn't do anything. It's like practicing presence, as our beautiful Shana would tell us, is the only way that our devotional tools change anything. And the only way that we get good at our devotional tools is by practice. And as I say, nothing I'm telling you is new. But I think what happens when you sit in front of a man like Joe, who is so, self-actualized and just living his highest version, and I'm sure he'd say he's got further to go, but he's very, very high vibing, is that you meet truth at a deeper level. And that's what happened for me today, is that, oh my God, I have been lazy. I've been hanging out in the idea of things more than I've been embodying them in things. And I know that I do a lot of amazing things, but I want more, and I'm hungry for more, and I want you to want more for yourself as well, because there's no reason for you to be living inside any limit. Okay, handing over to my sister Lisa. She's going to get you all excited about some other aspects of Joe's workshop today. I'm going to drink my tea.
She's channeling a wee bit of Joe there. He got that passionate. I mean, a lot of people know how much I was looking forward to being in his presence, and I sat there and watched Ricky become completely,
had some good things happen.
Yeah, overwhelmed by being in his presence, because he truly, he truly lives what he speaks. And he gave us some examples of the times where he does lose it. If he loses something, he loses it. And yet he also explained exactly what Ricky was just talking about, catching yourself and bringing yourself back. And I talked about this in the group the other day on Meditation Monday. When you're in your meditation, and every time you bring yourself back to the meditation, away from your body and back to the meditation, or away from your environment and back to your meditation, you're retraining yourself. You're retraining yourself. You're pruning the neurological synapses that you want to be rid of, because you don't want to run that program anymore, and you're retraining your body, which is your unconscious mind, to not physically function in that way anymore. And so we have to keep, and we do that in meditation, and we have to do it in our daily life. And what do we do
every time we do that in meditation? What do we do?
We congratulate ourselves. Let's add an elevated emotion to it. As we're in meditation, we bring ourselves back. We don't say, oh damn, I went away from this, I drifted, I'm no good at this. We go, yay, I've brought myself back, there's another synapse pruned. Oh yay, I've brought myself back, another bit of retraining, I'm getting closer to the truth. That's the most important thing when you bring yourself back. Don't punish yourself. Raise your vibration with your emotion and bring yourself back. What was fascinating, and Ricky mentioned presence, and our darling Shana, when you're not present, and this was so beautiful the way he said it, you have slipped into being unconscious. And if you think about it that way, it is so powerful. If you're not present, you're unconscious. If you're not present, you're either running a program where you think you're going into the future, which is based on where you've been in the past.
And when do we go unconscious in our day, Lisa?
When
do we go unconscious? When does it start?
The moment you wake up. And this is what he was saying. How many of you woke up this morning
and went unconscious?
And went unconscious immediately. How many of us woke up this morning and immediately lay there and went, what is my day going to be like? What am I going to create? What am I going to choose for my day? That has to be the first choice we make. If we wake up in the morning and immediately think about something that is familiar to us, or we think, oh, there's that pain in my body, we've brought ourselves back to who we don't want to be
anymore. Reach for
our
phone, check our Facebook, look at who didn't like us on Facebook, go and poop, and do it all in the same way. And we just immediately start going unconscious the moment you wake up.
So it's so important that it's retraining yourself. Again, the same thing. Every time you bring yourself back to consciousness, to the moment, don't punish yourself, celebrate. Hey, look what I've noticed. Look what I've brought myself back from. Here I am. We all can do better with this. Tomorrow morning, I challenge all of us. Let's wake up, and the first thing we do in the morning is create. Is think, how am I going to create my day? What is my day going to look like? And if the whole day is too much, what is the first thing I'm going to do when I get out of bed? And don't let it be what you did yesterday.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
So I'm terrible, poor Lisa. I'm like jumping in. So I just read something from Brendan Burchard, which might be a little formula that will help you if the idea of just kind of thinking good thoughts about your day is too much. Every morning in the shower, or you could do this earlier before you get out of bed, because of course heart coherence is what we will say. Begin your day with heart coherence, and you've already got that advantage, even if you're not thinking literally. But if you want to actually think literally about your day, ask yourself these 3 questions. What can I get excited about that's going to happen today? So you're already then looking at what's coming up and raising your vibe. What can I do for someone else today? So what can I offer? What can I give? What good can I be to someone else's life? And the third thing, which fits so beautifully with everything that we do, is what am I afraid of today? So what's going to happen today that I'm feeling a fear about? And actually go and look at that. day. So it might, that moment. So it might be, you know, the traffic on your way to work, or the meeting that you've got coming up with someone, or it might be the drop off at school, which you hate because, you know, you've got to like find parking. It's all annoying. Or whatever it is that you are anticipating in your day and would generally unconsciously just keep playing a fear program from the past about. Instead, you go and meet it. You go and look at it in the face and you say, okay, what else is possible for that moment? And you invest it with those good feelings that you've got from the other parts of thinking, what can I offer today, rather than what can I get out of today, which is generally what we're thinking. And we're going to generally be disappointed because we're not going to get what we want. Anyway, that's a strategy that you might want to try, because it's really good. That's from Brendan Burchard.
Okay.
I'm going to be quiet. Drink tea.
And now I lost my train of thought a little bit, but what is in the process of trying to stay conscious and present so that you are consciously creating, I think a lot of us have possibly always avoided the negative thoughts. And what I've heard Joe say this a lot, and it's never quite clicked for me. Today I got it. And he didn't really say it differently, but when you're sitting there with that vibe and he's presenting it all together, suddenly it goes click. We need to even write down, we need to keep note of, we need to, you know, do a brain dump in the morning of all those things that might derail us from staying conscious, from staying in the present. What are the things we're going to worry about today? What are the things that we're going to find ourselves drifting off into thoughts we don't want to have today? What are the things about our yesterday that we don't want to bring in today? Write them all down so that when you find it, so that the conscious mind, the moment you find yourself thinking about it, you're like, aha, there it is. That's one I don't want to be thinking about. And you move, here I am, I'm off in a thought, I bring myself back to this moment, being conscious again, being in the present moment. And it was really exciting to hear him put it in the way that I got it, because so often we go around in spiritual circles pretending and ignoring any of the negative stuff that, you know, can come up for us in our lives.
And there's not a single life event that is bigger than your capacity to engineer or manage or retrain your consciousness and to become conscious of the unconscious or subconscious program. There's really not going to be any excuses that I'm going to hear from my students anymore, or myself, that I'm going to accept, because I recognize, like he says at his workshops, he stopped letting people come up and ask questions, because people would always come up in the same way, and they'd come up and they'd say, Joe, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, are you doing the work? And they'd be go, no, but you don't understand. He goes, are you doing the work? And they'd go, no. And he's like, okay, go sit down, do the work for 3 or 4 days straight, and then come back and tell me that you've got a problem. And that's really where we're at, I think, is that we know too much. There is too much knowledge so freely available. And becoming self-reliant. This came up today with Joe, and it came up yesterday with Greg. He talked about it in terms of resilience, I think. And Joe talks about it in terms of something else that I can't remember. But it's that idea that it isn't about waiting for someone outside of you to heal you, to fix you, to show you the magic pill that you need to take, or any of those other stories, which we also know to be true. But how much of our life are we sitting in victimhood, waiting for someone else to be nice to us so that we can be happy, for example? Like, what a story is that? It's like, that person was mean to me. Okay, what are you going to do about it? Like, what you're going to do about it is turn down the volume on the negative emotion. And, you know, Caroline May says, my favorite quote, 5 minutes of self-pity, and you turn the volume down. If you can't turn the volume down, you are...
Sorry?
Addicted. Addicted is the answer.
Addicted to your emotions. And this was really big. He was talking about how an addiction to your emotions is no different to any other addiction. And I know Tamala will talk about this quite a bit. Yeah. It's this concept of we are literally addicted to our emotions. Yeah. And one of the things that, you know, we're all very in tune within this group, I think, of our energy fields. And what we're doing when we're indulging in these negative, habitual, you know, stories that are running, is that by sitting in these negative emotions, we're creating chemicals that are actually sucking the energy to keep us, you know, from our life force, from our energy field. And we'll find that will continue to happen and continue to happen and continue to happen until such a point where there's just nothing left to sustain you, and you move into illness. Each time you cut those synapses in your brain, you release that energy back into your field, and you release it for use for creating your future. Yep. So that's what's so important about cutting those chemical pathways in your brain, so that, or the synapses, because it releases that energy that you can use to create.
Yeah, and that's why we talk about in the work of the third level and the Institute is that first you meet your fear, then you create, because you've actually got no energy to create. If you are running the program of your past, which is then playing the future out for you in a predetermined fashion, there's literally no space for the miracle to enter, because you have already predetermined through habit what is going to happen in every moment. And even if a miracle dropped into your lap, you would either reject it out of fear of the unknown, or you would somehow sabotage it through a belief system that is not for you, you're not worthy, blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, the number of times I hear this come out of people's mouths, usually when they're about to enter the third level, the stories of, oh God, it's just not the right time for me, or blah, blah, blah. There's never any truth in those stories. There's only ever the right time to privilege your soul and step into your spiritual leadership. It's about you've met, using Gay Hendricks language, the upper limit. So what's so powerful about Joe's work is that it's like, and Greg said this yesterday, which was so great. If something is truth, you will hear it again and again and again and again from all the different people. And I think that's so exciting. And as spiritual leaders, lots of you are on this call, I want you to be comfortable with that. It is not about inventing something that no one has ever heard of. It's about being the voice of truth, and that truth is eternal and unchanging, but your way of speaking it, sharing it, is what makes you worthy, and why the world needs you, and you got to show up. And I'm looking.
I'm in a really, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and this is what Joe said over and over and over again. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not following your truth. If you're not uncomfortable, it's not intuition. Yeah, because intuition
leads you to the unknown.
It leads you to the unknown, and the unknown is going to be uncomfortable, because your body's going to go, what this is not what I'm used to. I'm not ready for this.
You get into the river of discomfort, I think is the way he described it. And it's like, actually, but it's really important we make a caveat here that it's different to the old paradigm of awakening, which had to awaken through suffering.
Not suffering.
That is not the same thing as getting a little bit uncomfortable. But we are so spiritually flabby that we don't have that stamina, that muscle, that the second things get uncomfortable, we go, oh, well, this mustn't be spiritual then, because spiritual's meant to feel really good, right? And our unwillingness to get uncomfortable is our spiritual laziness, actually. The old paradigm of having to awaken through suffering has nothing to do with having to get a little bit uncomfortable to change your body-mind relationship. That is literally it's the death of the old. So of course it's going to get a bit uncomfortable. It's the genetic death, it's the chemical death, it's the hormonal death, it's the neural pathway death as new life emerges. So that discomfort is actually a really good sign. And it really was a big epiphany for me that I'm going to strengthen the language as I train my third level priestesses as they go out to work, to explain to their clients that getting uncomfortable, being uncomfortable after a session of the method, is actually a really good indicator that you've done good things, that you've changed yourself permanently. And that was a big moment of revelation. It was so great to be able to speak it out and work it out with Lisa.
Sometimes when we get we get an intuitive bit of guidance, we get a clear piece of drawing forward into a new direction. We start to get that uncomfortable feeling, and as Ricky said, we think if it's the right thing to be doing, it should feel really good because this is right for me. And then you sort of go, but if I do that, I actually feel really good. You feel good because it's familiar, not because it's right for you, not because it's growth, not because it's where you're meant to be going, not because it's intuition, because it's familiar. And familiar to the physical body feels good, because the physical body and the ego has created a whole pile of chemical receptors for all the chemicals created in your mind for those old ways of functioning. And when suddenly you start trying to do something differently, the body starts going, hang on a minute, I need something to fill my receptors here. I need those old emotional hormones that used to be created. Where are they? Yeah. That's the discomfort. So that's the physical and
withdrawal symptoms.
And science explanation of why you feel uncomfortable. Yeah. So it's okay to feel uncomfortable when you're going in the right direction.
And I know that this happens to us a lot, is that we'll get an intuitive hit or an inspiration, which is intuition, come into us, and we'll get really, really, really excited about it, and we'll start making plans, and we'll start bringing it into reality, and then we'll start to feel the discomfort, and then we'll go, oh, oh, well, this mustn't be right. God mustn't want this for me, because if it was, you know, and people say to me, surely if I'm on the right path, Ricky, this should be easy. And oh my God, I hear that all the time. It's like, surely if this is what I'm meant to be doing, it should all just feel really light and fluffy. And it's like, no, you are literally killing the old self. And we did this beautiful thing. And when we went into the Tuning into New Potentials meditation, if you don't have that one, I encourage you to get it. At the very last thing we did, well, we turned to one another and Joe said, say goodbye to the person sitting next to you, because they won't be here when you come out of this meditation, because they are gone. And what you are bringing into reality is this new version of Lisa, who is, you know, amazing and unafraid of everything, and this new version of Ricky, who is just so clear. And it's like every time you go into a practice like that, say goodbye to the old to let space be for the new. And if you approach it with the understanding that it is a death, not just a spiritual idea, but a physiological change, a death of the old ways of the brain firing the chemicals that would produce, you will realize how powerful what we're doing is, and that it is not just a nice idea. And getting uncomfortable is a really good sign. Now, this is different to, you know, it's very important that you understand we are not talking about suffering as worthy, because if you get on board with the discomfort that comes from making this kind of profound change, move from fear to love, it will be temporary and short term, and it will move through you with ease and grace the more you surrender to it. We've learned that lesson, haven't we?
Yes.
If you try to fight it, or use your addictions to bury it, or even use your spiritual tools to hide it and pretend that it's okay to stay where you should not stay, because your intuition has actually told you beautifully that you shouldn't be there, then you're going to miss that opportunity. You are rejecting the miracle because it feels too big. And so our job, as A Course in Miracles teaches us, is to be primed for the biggest level of miracle that we can possibly access. And that means that we have to keep doing this work. The primary focus of Joe's work, and I think all work about entering the quantum, is to become nothing. Let go of your personal identity to change your... keep doing this to you and you're like,
sorry,
to change your personal reality.
Yes.
You have to let go of your identity to change your reality. Your personal identity is what is telling you the story of your limited self, and you have to be willing to change that in order to change your personal reality. You cannot change your life and still hold on to your habits, which are really what form an identity. Yeah, you go through a whole kind of phase of building up habits that form your identity, and then you think that's who you are. I'm just a moody person who doesn't really like much. No, that's actually just habit that you formed over lifetimes. I'm afraid of change. I'm not someone who really puts myself out there. I don't really, go after things. I'm not very ambitious. I like hiding from the world. No, you've just learned fear-based habits and repeated them so often that they've become your identity. So if you want change, you can't demand change from the infinite and go and do these practices, and then when it arrives say, ooh, but something might have to change. I don't want that. I just wanted all of this to happen without me having to get uncomfortable. So discomfort is, as Lisa says, it is a really good indicator that you are in the right place, but it is a temporary state. Yes. It will not last, and you do not need to be afraid of it, but you do need to have spiritual stamina to get through it, because if you are all flabby spiritually, then as soon as things get tough, you're going to go find the remote, eat the popcorn, get drunk, pick a fight with your husband, and go back into your habits that will perpetuate your suffering, basically.
And Joe's work has moved so far. He really used to be very much about the science. But today, I watched Ricky collapse and become a complete convert when he used the word God.
He did. He said, we're going to the mind of God. And that's it.
For Ricky.
What is the quantum field? It is the mind of God.
It was
and
perfect.
so I kept being able to overlay, because I teach women how to be mystics. I can overlay what it is to be a mystic is what Joe is teaching, but it's in the language that I use. So yes, he said it. I wrote it down.
He said science is the mysticism of today.
Yeah, and the closer you get to the one mind of God, the less space there is between you and that mind. And that's really why we do our devotion. Going into nothingness, becoming no thing in no time and no place, is where you enter the field of pure potential, the void. So if you are too wedded to your identity, if you're too unwilling to let go of your agenda with God, then you will never know what is possible, because it's all going to happen in the unknown. You hold the vision, but the vision is open to all ways of being received. So you have to be willing to surrender that vision to that greater mind, as he says in his meditation, in order for it to be received in the way that will most powerfully serve you. If you're so fixed on the details and trying to predict how it's going to happen and try to control the outcome of what it is that you want to create, then you've just gone back into your materialistic reality, your material self, and there is no space for the miracle there.
His words were, and for me it's like I came and both Ricky and I came and we had this period of discomfort.
Oh yeah.
That was huge. And we were trying to label it and give it a story around jet lag. We were
pretty good though.
Yeah, but we sat with it,
but we both felt
thinking, yeah, there's something here. And today we realise why, because it was literally, this is a spiritual pilgrimage for both of us, and we literally were preparing for what we have received today.
Yeah.
And his words are, science has become the contemporary language of mysticism.
Yeah.
And that is just like, yes, it is like science has moved from being just science to being the language of mysticism.
And he ended, which I loved, by saying, do not wait for science to prove to you what is possible. Go out and prove to science what is possible, and then do it again and again and again so science can measure you and be the new evidence for what is possible. Do not wait for someone or something or some science or some evidence to tell you it's okay to be unlimited, pure potential. Do not wait to give permission to become the most incredible version of what you are, and do not let anybody's story about you or your story about yourself rob you of what is possible for your life. Every single limiting belief is bullshit and it is simply a matter of will. A matter of personal will. And the beautiful thing is that the more you show up with personal will, the more God can lift you and infuse you with God's will. And then you don't have to try and do this on your own. And it becomes a state of flow, a state of constant unfolding grace. And that is what is possible for us. And you never have to worry, where is it coming from? How's it going to happen? How will this next step happen? You put it all down and you let God carry you. And that is what's waiting for us, dear ones. Okay, so I think we've gone a bit longer than we thought. We're like, we won't tell you about the whole workshop. We told you about the whole workshop.
But what I'm going to do, my challenge to myself is I'm going to set an alarm on my phone and every hour, and it's going to be to ask myself, am I unconscious? That's simple. Am I unconscious right now when this alarm goes off? Just as a method of starting to retrain myself back.
Yeah.
So I challenge you, if you want to join me in doing that, just that little reminder to check in with yourself. Am I unconscious in this moment? If you are, back to being presence. And as we know from our dear Shana, presence is where our consciousness really is.
Yeah, and my little challenge in there that I'm going to do for myself, and I invite you to do, we might write this up in the group so that you can see it, is that before, as you're waking up, train yourself to ask yourself, what is it that I am excited about for today? And if you can't find anything that you're excited about in your day, then you put something in your day, because an elevated emotion with a new thought, a new intention, as Joe tells us, is the formula for creating a new reality. So find something to be excited about in your day and think about how you might be of service. And that might be the thing that excites you about your day. But do not have just an automatic unconscious thought, and do not let yourself pick up your phone. So the second part of the challenge is to keep mobile devices and any other digital devices other than what you need to set your alarm on out of your bedroom, so that you cannot unconsciously pick up your phone and just get into the habit of looking at some external measure of your worth. You're actually going to take the time, and if you can, add heart coherence to that, of course, because that's going to be, do heart coherence and then ask yourself those questions, and that's going to be where you start creating from. So yes, it's all about more of what we already know, but in a language that is even more affirming, which is that until you make your subconscious program conscious, you will be living on autopilot and calling it fate, and you are worth more than that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We did very well.
We did well, sister.
We're off to dinner. We'll let you know how we go tomorrow. Tomorrow we've got Cryon, Greg, Joe, and Lynn McTaggart. So that's going to be a fun day, and we'll do a debrief at the end of that as well. Thank you so many of you for joining us. That was so awesome. Bye.